Yo guys, welcome back to another video. Today I'm joined again by my buddy NLG. Today we're going to be talking about tier 7 Bislis. NLG, can you help confirm what we're talking about today? Just in terms, we're sticking right to the bases. We're going straight DPS. I don't give a shit about your utility. I don't give a shit about tier tokens, loot distribution. I don't care if you want to be proud on loot or anything. We're just talking about DPS here, strictly DPS. Isn't that right?
Yeah. So basically, you're talking about just specifically for single target. We're kind of thinking like a 2 or 3 minute fight because I think a majority of max fights will be around that time. Um, Again, as you said, some classes bring whatever the fuck they bring for trash or something like that. But we're specifically talking about like boss fights, and we're keeping the boss kill time short because that's exactly what's going to happen in tier 7. Even on something like Malygos, the fight's going to be long, but it's also going to have lulls in its fight, and it's going to have like small periods of AoE, but realistically it's more about what you do up front because nobody really cares about your vehicle damage or whatever.
Exactly. And even on a fight like Patchwork on a buffed private server, you're still seeing kill times that are around like the 2 minute 15-second mark. So something like that is still really fast for like HP values that are almost double what they should be. And again, we have no idea what Blizzard is going to put out there for buffs and knacks, but we can speculate as best as we possibly can how the performance of these classes will do based on our experience and history with private servers. Okay, well then let's just go down to it. We'll go straight down the line here. In case you want to skip ahead at any point, we'll try to leave markers down below for you to click through to see the class that you're playing. But we're going to start it off with Hunter here, and the first up is Beastmaster Hunter. What do you think about Beastmaster?
So BM Hunter specifically gets a bad rap. I personally have not played that much BM Hunter. I don't know of many people that have played it at a high level, but the fact that everybody wants to immediately label them as trash and unplayable is, I mean, that's short-sighted in my opinion. I've seen BM Hunters compete on damage with Warmane survival hunters. Um, Maybe not at the very top end. Maybe even by the time you get tier 7 BIS, maybe you suck. But I've seen BM hunters do pretty well, and I think that something like Patchwork, for example, or even Grobulus, for example, where you might run in a situation where you're able to pre-trap and kind of utilize getting the double explosive trap and whatnot. The short kill times are going to favor any class that have a massive DPS cooldown, which BM Hunter has. Um, I'm gonna at least put it in viable, at least for tier 7, at least in tier 7 BIS. I'm gonna put it viable. It brings a raid buff, so if you're not, I mean, you're probably gonna have an arcane mage. Let's be real. But if for whatever reason you don't, I mean, I still think that BM Hunter is not a complete meme compared to what other people want to play.
Okay,
What do
I
you think?
I I hear what you're saying, and I will be the first to admit that I am 100% guilty of being on the OBM Hunter is a meme train. And I think a lot of that just stems from the fact that I've legitimately never once in my entire career seen a BM Hunter in a raid environment in Wrath at all whatsoever. Um, to me, that's usually a testament that a spec is just extremely lacking in a certain way, or is just missing like some type of theory crafter or someone to just push it a little bit. I have, however, seen BM Hunter in dungeon settings. When you're fresh 80 and spamming heroics, a lot of hunters that I've played with will intentionally go BM because I know that it actually performs well when all you have are just some shitty greens and blues and you're just trying to get by. I have seen it perform well there, so I can kind of see where you're coming from. I'm willing to flex here. I would put it in not good, but to me, there's so many unknowns. Like, with all these unknowns about it, I'd almost even put it in the question mark category. So I'm leaning towards not good. If you feel really, really strong about putting it in viable here, then I'll allow it this one time. But
Yeah,
that's
yeah, I'm putting my neck out there. I think it's viable. I think that like I said, with short kill times and with the strength of the actual DPS cooldown. And I know that we're starting off hot. We're starting off with fucking BM Hunter. But yeah, I'm gonna say it's viable.
Okay, okay, I'll allow it, and it'll be your ass on the line, even though this
Yep.
video will be on both of our channels. I'm not endorsing that, but viable sounds fine to me. Survival hunter. So I'll start with survival. To me, survival is actually, in a lot of ways, I think slept on. I've seen so many good survival hunters on different server cores, absolutely just dumpster meters left and right. Like some X, for example, I know that he's killing it. I've rated so many times with Terra in tier 7 where she's literally like top 3 DPS on patch. There's so many examples in my recent memory that I've just seen hunters absolutely destroy. I unfortunately don't know quite enough about survival to say if it's because of a lock and load scripting, if it's because of some type of thing that's favoring them in these scenarios, but it's too consistent for me to ignore. A survival hunter to me is somewhere in between competitive and strong. I don't think I'd go god tier, but to me, I'm leaning competitive. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm in the same camp where I don't know enough about Hunter. But I do know Hunter baseline has big cooldowns. I would say, yeah, competitive or strong, I'm fine with either. I leaned more towards strong, but just only because the competition is so fierce when it comes to some of these other classes and short fights.
That's fair. Yeah, and definitely trying to find ways to differentiate between this horde of classes that could end up in the god tier competitive.
Yeah.
I see what you mean there for sure. Just to try to differentiate. I feel good about endorsing a survival as competitive though.
Okay. If you put it as competitive, would you say that it would go at like the bottom of competitive?
Probably, but we might
Okay.
have to revisit that.
Okay. Yeah, I'm
Um,
cool. I'm cool with it. How it is.
how do you feel about marksman?
Um, I think that the problem is you have no ARP in tier 7. Like you have Grim Toll, but that's nowhere near cap, and you would never gym for ARP. I mean, that's one of its strengths. But again, Hunter baseline it has huge cooldowns, and Marks specifically has readiness with it. Um, Personally, I put it at the same as BM. I
Really?
mean,
Okay.
yeah, I'm kind of okay with that. I
Interesting.
think it'll do just about the same amount of damage just on a short fight.
Interesting. I I could see marksman being strong, but because survival is there, always outperforming it with these like true DPS spec classes like hunter, rogue, mage, for example, like people just always play the meta spec. There's no point in playing marksman when survival is there doing more damage. I think
Yeah.
marksman is actually is strong in this scenario, especially just trying to differentiate between these three specs. I think marksman is a little better than we think in tier 7, but you're 1000% right. There's just truthfully not enough gear, not enough armor pin to go around. The weapon damage on these bows just isn't enough, or bows and guns, like it's just not enough for marksman to really like jump up just yet.
Yeah, I'm comfortable putting it above BM,
Mhm.
but I still think BM is gonna be.
We'll see about BM. I mean, if okay, so if base hunter is competitive and strong, BM cannot be too far off.
Yeah, that's really where my head's at too.
Right. I'm getting a little more convinced about it. Maybe I'm just like huffing that copium that you sent my way.
Yeah, let's move on from hunters. I see the next class. I'm pretty excited.
Ooh, okay. Tell me about feral, man.
Oh, it's immediately number one, 100%.
Woo!
There is no way that anything can compete on a short fight with a feral who gets a hysteria, who has the berserk. You're if especially if you're lusting on the pull, like there's nothing that competes with that. Especially, I don't know what exactly all these feral players are gonna do, but there has to be a way where you're gonna have fights where you come in with 5 combo point savage roar before you even start the pull,
Yep.
and the man the it, it's just nothing else is even close. Like, it's crazy the amount of burst damage that a Feral is going to do with Berserk and Hysteria. And I don't even know if it stacks with Tricks. That's currently not even meta to give the Feral the first Tricks. I don't know if it stacks, but I could definitely see it being meta to get a later Tricks, like maybe the second Tricks goes to the Feral, because you do snapshot your Rip with your Rip glyph. I don't know the name of it, but
I
yeah,
think that's it.
yeah.
Prep.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so glyph of Rip. Yeah, I even without all of that, even without Hysteria, even Ferals fucking pump. Like, they do really, really good damage. Like, a good Feral Druid is going to pump. And I know that people are going to immediately bring up the Omen of Clarity crap, but I've looked at different logs, and honestly, on some of these servers, like on White Main, Ferals were competing for top 3 with myself on Affliction, and then Assassination Rogue. They were competing, and I can't remember the exact number of Omen of Clarity procs, but it was low. It was like it was pretty close to what we're seeing in Classic. It wasn't some crazy shit where we're seeing like 15 per minute or whatever. It was low. So I think Feral's going to be in a really good spot. I think tier 7 specifically, you're not competing with that many people for your weapon. Like, your weapon is one of the biggest parts of your damage, and you're not competing with anybody for it except for Hunter. So I think they're going to pump. I think a lot of the top ranking boss kills will be Feral, especially early before everybody starts getting tier 7 BIS.
I think pretty much everything that you said, I'm gonna sign off with you on. Feral has always performed extremely well, being the token Feral of your raid, getting that Hysteria with those burst windows. You can absolutely demolish. I think the pedestal that we have them on might come down a little bit with Classic. It's hard to like put it in a vacuum like this, but then know that there's like the real world scenarios of Nax where you're going to run into so many encounters where you literally just don't have cooldowns up. And a Feral without cooldowns is a little bit rougher than other classes without cooldowns. I know Feral will still do amazing and still parse extremely high when you have Lust, when you have Hysteria, when you have Berserk, and all these things. So I'm very confident putting in God tier, but there are a couple other classes that I'm thinking about putting ahead of them in God tier, to be fair.
Okay. Yeah, I'm all right with that. Yeah, I was just thinking more like every single fight you would have Lust, but if you're speed running, you're not gonna have Lust every fight. So
right, and I think that's wrong for me to continue to put these classes in that scenario. That we're trying to look at this in a vacuum, and so in a vacuum, you have all your cooldowns in this situation, which is why Feral is like by far a god tier class in this tier list.
Either way, it's still god tier. I agree.
Yeah. Okay, so Boomkin. I get Boomkin messages all the time. I don't play Boomkin at all. I get comments all the time in my videos. It's ridiculous. Like, people are so excited about playing Boomkin and Wrath, and all because of like they think that their overall damage is going to be amazing. And to me, like, their overall is good, but I have seen like varying differences on their single target. And that's what we're talking about today. Like, their single target, I have seen so many different results with like some really good boomkins on certain servers do extremely well. And then on other servers, they do what you'd expect from a boomkin, which is pretty middle of the pack. It's always going to be respectable. It's good damage. It's a class I always want in my raid. But to me, it fits into like the strong category, and it's a safe strong. It will never be something that I'd consider viable. It's a strong class, but I cannot think that Boomkin is going to be competitive in these situations. What do you think?
Yeah, there's no way that like Boomkin's obviously going to beat out certain classes for a little bit, like Ret, Warrior, but thinking that it's going to beat out like a Lock or a Frost DK or something, there's just no way.
Yeah.
I don't see any scenario where that happens. It would have to be the only scenario where that would happen would be like a 45-second fight or something like that, where you're just the uptime on your Starfall is insane, and then you still have treants the whole fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like Obsidian Sanctum, a speed run of Obsidian Sanctum, maybe.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Something like that. It would do. It would do well. I mean, it's got. Have you ever watched their burst? It's fucking crazy.
It's pretty
Actually,
sick. It is
like
nice.
steel needs salves, or he's gonna pull.
I've heard of so many boomkins want to like pretend like they're gonna rip aggro with and want to call for salve, but I've never seen a boomkin ever actually do it.
I mean, go to Goofy Pug and play a boomy. When Goofy's tanking, you're definitely gonna need it.
Okay. So did you have boomkin in strong as well?
I did, yeah. I had it right behind survival though, so I didn't put survival in competitive, but yeah,
Okay.
I had it in strong.
Okay. Okay, then I feel good about this. We can always adjust later as we throw the other classes in. How about Fury Warrior?
Oh, that's a really good class, dude.
Oh, hell yeah,
Really,
God
really,
tier. Let's go.
really good, yeah. Dude, I've been watching these people in heroics playing Fury, and they're like, "Oh my god, it's actually bumping, dude."
It's so
It's
stupid.
so funny, dude.
So
just
stupid.
put it in not good.
It's ridiculous. People are so convinced that guys like you and I are just private server Andes and
Yeah,
that
dude.
Fury
I
won't
hope that I'm
perform.
wrong.
Oh, sure, I hope I'm wrong, but the level that we have to be wrong is a fucking mountain, dude. Because people are
Yeah.
saying like Fury Warrior wouldn't be good in TBC. It ended up being number 2 or number 1 in every single phase of the expansion of TBC. When people were saying it wouldn't be good. There's absolutely no fucking chance that Fury Warrior is a number 1 or number 2 class in every phase of Wrath. There's no chance.
The thing is, like, if you look at private server data, again, this is, that's the only thing that we're basing it on is private servers. The top Fury Warrior is like 6,500. Top Affliction is like 10K. So, I mean, it's literally 30% that you're behind. I don't know. Sometimes more. Most people are more than 30% behind. So, I mean,
And when you set expectations like this to know like how far behind they are and how like bad they are early, they take victories in being like a top 6 DPS on a fight. If they hit that number 6 overall, or you can actually see them, you don't have to scroll down. It's like, oh shit, there's the Brown. He showed up.
Yeah. And you have to think that he's probably going to be the Sunderbot at least until you start stacking Fury Warriors where, you wouldn't be the only one.
Right. And what's disgusting about playing Fury is, especially this early, is not only is it a worse DPS than Arms, which we're about to get to, is Fury is, you're supposed to be Arms, bringing the physical buff. A lot of times rogues won't be combat, although I do think combat will actually be meta in Classic, but that's another conversation. You're basically saying like, hey guys, like, sorry, I want to do pump, I want to do Fury Warrior things rather than do what's meta and do what's going to bring my raid the physical damage debuff. So it's just a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah. Like, if anything, you would drop a Feral, and dude, like, there's no way that a Feral is gonna lose to a Fury Warrior, because they would share the same buff.
Exactly.
There's just no way.
Exactly. Okay, so for Arms, I would put them viable. What do you think?
Yeah, that's where I have them.
Okay.
They're just good. I mean, it's actually hilarious. I didn't think that the private server meta could change, but it actually has this last season. Out of nowhere, it's like dual wield arms is fucking the thing.
It's not bad.
Yeah, it's interesting, that's for sure. It's funny. It's funny seeing what weapons they use too. I have no idea how it works.
I actually don't think it's a substantial DPS increase. Kind of like how dual wield Unholy is a pretty noticeable DPS increase to 2-hand. I don't think dual wield arms, kebab arms, is going to be a massive thing in Wrath. I think you can definitely still go the 2-hand standard route and do really, really good numbers. It's just different.
Yeah, I mean, either way, we haven't seen any warrior do good damage. Like, obviously, arms does better than Fury, but it's not by it's maybe like 10%. So like the top arms is like 7K, and then top Fury is probably 6K. I mean,
yeah. But they have their moments. They have their cleave moments where they do all right. Yeah, they're not as bad as I probably make them out to be so often as I do on my channel. I do think that Arms will have their moments in Wrath and in Nax, and I think people will try to like shove it down my throat. Oh my god, like look at arms. Well, no, you know, arms does okay here and there. I think viable is perfectly fine. I think that's a nice way to put it. Not like a C tier. It's viable.
Yeah. I know in our last video we were talking about how you probably wouldn't run an arms. I still agree with that. But you do bring a pretty unique buff. It's either you or a combat rogue, and it's a pretty important buff. Other thing about arms that I've been, or warrior in general, warrior DPS in general, people really think that they're going to do. They say, "Oh well, don't you think about overall damage?" I mean, first off, we're talking about single target, but like even overall damage, like it has to be some kind of TPC mentality where you think that warrior is like the only AoE class or some shit. I don't know, but there's no like I've never in my life seen a warrior get even close until like heroic Lich King, and then Fury Warrior is like padding. You know what I mean?
Yes. No,
That's that's about it.
exactly. I do think it is a little bit of a TBC mentality where people can't understand the fact that everyone gets good cleave and good AoE for
Yeah.
overall and trash damage. Like, so many classes can actually do something on trash and not feel like they're fucking useless. Warrior is not the poster child for overall damage anymore.
Yep. So I mean, I'm cool with. I put him viable as well. So you know.
Cool. Okay, so Assassination Rogue. I'll go first, but I know that you're probably gonna have more to say about rogues since you actually play them. Assassination to me is God. It's gonna be really tough to knock them out of this position. They are god tier. They are oftentimes frustratingly hard to keep up with in damage, and also frustrating due to the fact that they don't bring like hardly any value to your raid at all. You also play a warlock, so you look at rogues and you're like, oh my god, like that's my tricks boy. But to me, like I look at rogues, and I'm like, you're useless, and then they just absolutely dominate, man, dominate. Their single target is frustratingly good. It's so good. They are constantly dominating single target fights. I remember we did a raid just 2 nights ago, and I believe it was on Heigen. It may have been a different boss, but we had 3 rogues, and they were all assassination, and they were number 2, number 3, and number 4 on the DPS meter. And they just took like a whole wall of yellow. It pissed me off, but they are just so insanely good and stackable. This class is just phenomenal in tier 7.
Yeah, when it comes to rogue, and again, we haven't even seen the level of degeneracy that classic is going to bring. So for example, there is the snapshotting mechanic when it comes to your what is it, tier 6, that slice and dice. You don't actually have to use 2-piece tier 6. You can snapshot it in Orgrimmar on a dummy and then just swap gear. There's also the poison snapshotting from like some kind of vanilla gear or some shit. And then there's undiscovered shit. There's stuff that you can do with dual spec. There's I've heard of people talking about getting your combo points on as you would have subtlety as your off spec, and then you would like premeditate, and then you would start with 5 combo points. And even if you just play the class like it's, you know, just the 2-button class that it is, it still has insane burst. Like and it also it doesn't even matter what build you go. Like there's 2 builds. There's the RNG build that might be a private server meme, and then there's the standard, like you get expertise cap, you get spell hit cap, and then yada yada yada. But when it comes to the burst of Assassination Rogue, your biggest one of your biggest ones is the vanish mechanic. I think it's called overload or overpower or some shit. Basically it's 20 seconds of insane energy regen, and you get the one on the pole, which is 20 seconds, and then you get another 20 seconds of it. So literally your entire lust, if you want to use it that way, is just you're just blowing, you're just insane. It's so good. It's such a good opener, and I still think it's going to be below Feral, but I do agree. There's no way there's no way it goes anywhere except God tier, and it obviously brings tricks. So
It's also just a cherry on top for assassination is it's genuinely one of the easiest classes to play.
Yeah, for sure.
It's so easy, and the barrier to entry doesn't ask you to have a whole lot of skill. It's great for like a raid leader, or it's great for just someone who just wants to play something that's extremely meta without like having to challenge themselves with like the hardest class in the game. And it's just so easy to get great profit out of this class. They're just so damn good.
Yeah, like I would say it's one of my favorite alts. It's like my favorite, not necessarily GDKP, but just alts to bring into a pug, because you're gonna pump even if your gear is kind of trash, so you don't really have to keep up with gear. And it's like you said, it's really easy. Yeah, I like it for my alts. I don't think I would main it like I've been saying, but I would definitely keep it as an alt. And I would recommend anybody else. You should probably have an assassination rogue alt.
Yeah, it's actually a really good alt to have if you ever need to, you know, change up what you're doing for a certain progression boss potentially.
Oh yeah, that too. Yeah, because you might not want whatever your actual main is. You might actually want an extra rogue or two.
Right. Okay. Combat. So I'll start similarly to assassination. Combat is really good in tier 7 and very much slept on. I think if you were to record a video like this maybe like a year or 2 years ago and talked with the biggest private server heads of the time, people probably would have put combat somewhere in like competitive. I think the days of combat being competitive are kind of done. I don't think it would be, I'd put it ahead of feral, but to me combat is god tier. They're actually really really good. They're crazy good, and it's a little more like it's asking a little bit more of you than the typical assassination in terms of the rotation, the cooldown usage, and managing all of that. But they are phenomenal, and they pick up quicker than you think that they do. What do you think?
I don't think god tier. I
Really?
Yeah, I love combat rogue. I love play. It's one of my favorite. I like it more than assassination. It brings its own unique buff, all that stuff. It still brings tricks. I pure single target, unless the fight is literally like 30 seconds, 45 seconds. I put it
Yeah,
competitive.
it would have to be
It's
fast.
yeah, it's still a good. Um, it's still good. Don't get me wrong. Like competitive is still awesome, an awesome spot. But I couldn't put it in god tier. I wouldn't put it anywhere near feral or assassination rogue, to be honest.
Okay.
Especially with the snapshotting, the degeneracy. That's yeah.
Okay, okay. I'm okay with putting them in competitive if they're at the
Yeah, meet
top
me
of
there. Meet me there.
competitive. They have to be top of competitive.
Top?
Oh yeah,
Mm,
dude. You're
okay,
not playing with the right combat rogues, bro.
we'll talk about it
You haven't
after.
seen my boy Namala in a minute then.
You haven't seen me. I fucking out pump Namala. Come on
Get
now.
the fuck out of here.
You haven't seen Jumpa.
Okay. Subtlety. This is probably for me the first class I'm gonna put in this question mark category.
Yeah.
I've never seen a subtlety do anything in a raid environment ever. Maybe they could do something, but I cannot endorse anything on here.
So for tier 7 specifically, I agree. I've never seen one in tier 7, but I have heard of great memes of full ARP sub rogues. So I'm not gonna and it's still a rogue. Like and it's got some interesting talents. Like you still get not still get, but you get something called filthy tricks where you get you get I think it's 5 seconds reduction on your tricks. So I mean let's say hypothetically it's close in damage to assassination or combat somehow.
Sure.
It's just been slept on. I mean, you still bring an interest like, 50% uptime on your tricks or whatever. So obviously I'm gonna put it in question mark, but I'm not dismissing it. It's still a rogue. I'm still, for example, I still think it would be above it's still gonna be above a Fury Warrior probably, to be honest.
Holy shit, it could be.
Yeah.
I would love to see what it actually could do. Especially if it could do more than a Fury Warrior. Oh my god.
Dude, I bet you I would actually take that bet. I would bet that just because it's a rogue, It's
Yeah.
just like, hunters are all going to be good just because it's baseline hunter.
So new
I
jump
would.
up video, subtlety.
Hell no. I do have a rogue tank build that I made when I was questionable mentality.
Oh, good God.
It's a nice little raw build.
Okay, a video for another time, I'm sure. Okay, about mages. I really quick want to say about fire before we go any further with the rest of the list, something that we haven't talked about just yet. This video is intended for tier 7, Naxxramas, OS, EOE, BIS. We're not talking about pre-raid, we're talking about BIS, right?
Yeah.
Okay, just want to make sure everything that you've been saying up to this point is also talking about BIS with what's available. Because to me, there's a massive difference, like a huge difference between a pre-raid BIS Fire Mage and a tier 7 BIS Fire Mage. And a tier 7 BIS Fire Mage, to me, actually has the hit and the crit to do okay. I feel like I would put Fire Mage right with the Boomkin.
You know what's funny? You know what's funny is that you're. I don't even because you're not looking at what I had, what I
Nothing.
linked to, but it's literally just we're almost identical. Anyway, continue.
Yeah, I don't have any cheat sheet here, but I did glance at yours before. Yeah, so Fire Mage fits right at Boomkin. To me, they are similar to a warrior. Like they just haven't had the chance to fully scale yet. They haven't gotten the crit that they need. They haven't gotten the tier set bonuses that they need. They're missing access to a lot of good quality hit until they get and later into the expansion. And truthfully, like Fire is not bad. I think the meta spec, of course, is to play Arcane in Phase 1, of course. And even for parts of Phase 2, Arcane is going to be the way to go. But Fire Mage surprises people, and I do think like there's potential for Fire Mage to do surprising numbers for some people, but I can't put it past a Hunter in any scenario whatsoever.
Yeah, and even compare, we're gonna talk about Arcane later, but even comparing it to Arcane, it's like there's no way they would have to buff Nax more than Warmane. It would have to be more health than Warmane because that's specifically is why Arcane starts sucking is because it just goes out of mana and it starts you start having to evocate and whatnot, and that's kind of when Fire starts taking over.
Right.
But yeah, there's no way that they buff Nax that much. So I would say that there's no scenario that Arcane loses to a Fire Mage in Tier 7. But yeah, you're right about the hit rating stuff. Like the one of the worst parts about playing Fire Mage is trying to hit that. I think it's 14% that you have to gear for. That's just super hard in Tier 7 BIS without going down in item levels on certain items. And then, like I said, simultaneously, Arcane is still God mode at that point. So, why
Right.
would you play it?
Right. It's like the same situation we're talking about with the Hunters. When you have another spec that is just staring you right in your face, so it's outperforming you at every turn that you look, why are you not playing it? That's how I feel about mages in particular in Phase 1.
Yeah. Yeah. So I put it in strong too.
I feel like we've talked so much about Arcane. We should go ahead and like skip Frost here and talk about Arcane right now.
Yeah.
To me, you go.
Yeah. So with Arcane, what I was saying before, another aspect of why it's gonna be better than Fire in Tier 7 BIS is because you don't need all that hit rating. With Arcane, you can I think it's like 8% is your cap or something. It's really, really low.
Right.
And again, it's gonna be short fights. And if your raid is playing around you, your mana is not going to be too much of an issue. They should be giving you innervades. They should be giving you the mana hymns and stuff.
So where do you put Arcane in this list?
Oh, I put a god tier.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, we can talk about specific order, like I said, but
I would put it behind Feral, but I think right here is really good. And there's even potential with like maybe unfavorable Omen. I know we said like we don't know about Omen really a whole lot yet, but I do think like there's a possibility these two could swap places. That's how good Arcane is.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, cool. Frost Mage, you know, this could be another Beastmaster Hunter situation where it could outperform a warrior. But NLG, I I do not know enough about Frost to put it anywhere. Do you have any
Yeah.
strong opinions about this?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I've only seen it played in tier 9. I have no idea if that class is good. I haven't seen anybody say anything about that class. Um, I would still make the bet that it's gonna beat a Fury Warrior. And dude, I can't wait. So many of these TVC players are gonna be like, I hope NLG burns for his Fury Warrior predictions.
I still get comments to this day. I'll post like a video of something stupidly random talking about like warlocks, and I'll get a comment saying these preps are Randy players and they're,
Oh my
warrior,
god.
blah blah blah. Dude, they are crazy. They are mad out there.
They have a huge Discord, man. It's what is it, Fight Club? It's big, man. They don't want to let go.
They're funny though. I like them. Okay, cool. So I'm sure Frost could end up seeing themselves somewhere around the viable section, possibly, but the two of us are going to leave it as B. Unfortunately, we have to talk about Blood DPS. Now, this is actually a spec that I have seen perform in Phase 1, unfortunately. For an entire Phase 2, not just for like one damn raid. I literally saw this fucking spec in my raid for an entire phase of Nex. Unfortunately, I will have to say that Blood is viable and it's better than an Arms Warrior, probably, actually. Oftentimes, it was out DPSing the Arms Warrior in the raid. God, that feels dirty to say, but it's somewhere around there.
Yeah, it's and I know who you're talking about, and he's not that great. But I know that there's another guy that plays Blood DK. His name is Hex Monkey. He's pretty good, man. He's pretty good on other classes too. Yeah, I've actually seen. I can't remember if he actually did pretty well in tier 7 specifically, but I know by tier 8 he was actually pumping, like especially like XT hard mode and stuff. Yeah, so I also put that in viable. So that's all I gotta say about fucking Blood Death Knight, though.
Yeah, I can't say much more or even spend a whole lot of time figuring out where in viable it ends up, but I think right here is fine, and I'm ready to move on.
Yeah.
All right, Frost DK. One of the most like talked about specs that people are really excited about playing in Wrath is Frost DK. Very approachable class, very straightforward, easy to play, easy to pick up. I think what is one of Frost's biggest benefits and their biggest strengths in talking about like a pure damage situation is their cooldowns are literally 1 minute. Well, unbreakable armor is 1 minute. And that is huge, man. When you can pop that cooldown like just constantly, and that is like your DPS window, that is a major strength for you. You don't have to save your cooldowns for a particular push window or an opportunity where you're going to get a huge buff, like say on Thaddeus. You can still pop it phase 1 of Thaddeus. You're gaining a lot of value of having only a 1 minute cooldown on unbreakable armor. They are probably one of the least gear dependent classes in the entire game, right up there with Assassination Rogue. Frost DK can pump without a whole lot of gear. I think I typically would put Frost DK in a god tier situation. I don't know if it's the fact that Warmane has done some nerfing to the killing machine proc rate or what, but for some reason, as of late, and I'm a DK one trick, like Frost has been performing worse for me. And maybe it's the classes around me that are performing better, but Frost has actually ended up for me like ahead of combat, probably ahead of Arcane Mage, but it's to me it's somewhere like at the end of god tier or even at like the top of competitive for some reason.
Yeah. First off, yeah, I'm gonna delegate this to you. Like, I'm gonna let you put this wherever you want. But specifically with Frost DK, I have heard rumblings of the killing machine being way too much on previous servers. I put it competitive personally. It does well, but you know, the fight would have to be really short. It would have to be, let's say it's a minute 30, then you get the perfect, 2 unbreakable armors. One of them has 100% uptime during Lust. I mean, I could see it doing well. I could see it, um, maybe God tier, depending on whatever scripts we get with uh, Classic. But, you know, I have it competitive because I'm not entirely sold on it. The thing is, it's got weak execute and it's got weak overall cooldowns, I would say. When it comes to like compare it to a Pharaoh's Berserk.
Sure.
It's, it's nuts what um and it would be one thing, let's say that you had something equivalent to Hysteria to give to a Frost DK, then sure, maybe. Um but yeah, I think it's a little bit weaker. I think, for example, even Unholy, I think Unholy would shit on Frost DK on anything quick. Um So yeah, I put it competitive. One thing you did say that I have noticed is the gear independence. So you don't need any gear to do pretty well on a Frost DK. Like I'll walk into tier 9 with my Frost DK. He's got trash gear and I still do okay. Like I
Yep.
it's actually hilarious.
That's always been the case about Frost. You don't need a whole lot of hit rating. The expertise cap is actually not that huge of a deal for you. Your talents are really favorable to you, just giving you a lot of raw stats. Like the class is just, it's a strong class. Like think about how we've talked about like BM Hunter just kind of being risen up in the tier just by the sheer fact of existing as a green class, being Hunter. Like Frost is just kind of like taking the core of DK and just being phenomenally strong. Just as a base, uh, I think you make a good point. There's definitely some places where I feel like Frost feels kind of like a noodle. I want to say like last week I had literally hit rank 1 for all DKs, both Frost and
yeah.
Unholy on Patchwork, but I was like number 5 on the DPS meters on Patchwork.
Yeah, and you also, like I said, look at your competition. Do you think, and I'm again, you can put this wherever you want, but do you really think that you're going to compete with an Assassination Rogue, a Feral, or an Arcane? I say hell no.
Uh,
Do you belong in that same tier? I don't think so.
I I have a really hard time saying that Frost can't compete with Arcane because to me it does every time, every fight.
Okay. Yeah, we can leave it there then.
Yeah, it's tough. Unholy. Okay, let's just go to Unholy because I got to leave Frost here for now, and maybe I change it later if God tier gets too crowded.
Gotcha.
Unholy is definitely doing really well. And I can confirm from beta a few things that are already favorable for Unholy. One is we know that Gargoyle is going to have the good scripting that we want in terms of staying still, casting. They still need to work on the pet animations and interactions, as sometimes it just kind of does its own thing. But that we have plenty of time for them to sort that out in beta. And I believe we're actually looking at uncapped GCD. Knowing that, we know that Unholy can do absolutely insane openers. Absolutely insane openers. Like we're talking like 10k, even potentially 11k DPS openers for just brief moments. If you have everything lining up for a good Gargoyle snapshot, on top of the fact that we've had White Wolf and the whole Morb community just go absolutely ape over Dual Wield Unholy, and Dual Wield Unholy is not a meme anymore. It is actually legit. I'm convinced at this point that it's a DPS gain, at least on the server war main. We'll have to see for sure on Classic, but so far everything's looking good. That it is a DPS gain over two-hand, and pretty much every scenario, at least in phase 1, that passes the eye test for sure. And because of that, it ends up, to me, being God tier ahead of Arcane, and right up there with Feral, potentially even ahead of Feral. That's kind of where I would end up with Unholy. How do you feel?
Yeah, I actually had, so in my list, I actually had Feral as number 1 in God tier, and then I had Unholy right behind it. This is just I've played Unholy, but I've never played it to the level that I've seen other people play it, where they like you said, they literally have 11k, 12k openers. I'm just like, how the fuck did he do that? I don't.
Yep.
I don't know what order of spells I did wrong, but I don't remember ever ever hitting that with my gargoyle. But yeah, I think that Unholy is nuts. And I don't know what it is, but specifically this season of Warmane, it's I feel like they did something because it's doing better. But yeah,
Yeah,
it's definitely God tier though.
it's definitely God tier. It's 100% God tier, and it's outperforming Frost in a lot of basically every scenario. There's only a couple fights where really like you're not getting any benefit from like pet damage, where Frost is like by far better. But those are few and far between. We're talking about in a vacuum, like a 2 to 3 minute boss fight. Unholy wins, and the shorter the better, truthfully, until you hit that 3 minute and you get your second gargoyle. But your second gargoyle is never as good as your first. So yeah, Unholy is awesome, and I feel really good about putting them here. Okay, so you have Feral ahead of Assassination. I have
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe.
Like I said, how often do you even see a good feral, and then how often do you see that feral actually getting like a good hysteria, and then how often are they like doing the degenerate shit where they have 5 combo point or even like 2 combo point savage roar before the pull? Like it's so infrequent. It's so infrequent to see ferals really pumping. So that's why I put it number 1. I think it's going to be number 1 for sure.
Okay. I think the way you describe it is almost like that graph that's on logs where you can see like the outliers. And Feral has
Yeah.
always been that outlier class where the median of the player base playing it is like way down here and like competitive or
Yeah,
strong.
exactly.
But the outliers are like way ahead of everyone else, and that's kind of what you're talking about essentially. And I do kind of see that too. I have a hard time because of that putting it ahead of Assassination. Assassination is so reliably God tier that it to me comfortably is ahead of Feral.
Gotcha.
But
Yeah, I'm alright with that.
that's a bit picky in between here. It's not something to it's not a hill to die on for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, Ret. Ret, the class that I have the most realm first with.
Oh my, do you really?
I do. Because
Why?
I've
Why
piloted
do you play
Ret.
that?
I just pilot, dude. It's so dumb.
Oh, you pilot. Okay.
Yeah, this class is so damn stupid and can be so good in the right hands and can be so meh in others. And it's such a support class that you want to have them, and there's a reason to have them, especially early on with like 3% damage. Well, with the 3% damage later, but early on, like they're okay. They're obviously better than everyone who's inviable. They're at
Hell no, they're not.
What?
They're low, dude. They're like a warrior damage. Now, okay, there's actually no good Rets, I think. I've seen one good Ret. His name is Dalsgaard, and he's playing demo this season.
That's
So
that's the same guy that I would endorse. He's the only good Ret that I've played with is
yeah.
Dalsgaard too.
I see him put up numbers, especially in ulduar, but we're talking about tier 7.
I've seen him do good numbers too. I've specifically seen him do good numbers on like pure target dummy, single target fights. Not on Warmane. It was a different core. I believe it was Synergy when this happened. He's done decently there. But
okay. Okay, so for
God.
viable, what I want in viable is I think at the very least, okay, BM Hunter can be ahead of Arms Warrior, and then you can kind of put wherever you want, either Red or Blood DK. But
Okay.
so
So like this.
there you go. Yeah. There you go. Perfect.
Okay.
You can do whatever you want now.
Okay, I can do whatever I want now. I'm going to put Red ahead of Blood.
Okay.
I feel good about it, especially because honestly, like Red doesn't even do as good in Ulduar as they do in Nax, in my opinion, because everything is undead in Nax. Meaning they gain percent damage from Glyph of Sin's Undead and way better damage on their exorcism. They'll do better overall with Holy Wrath. But in a pure single target scenario, I believe Ret would probably do better in Nax than they would in Ulduar.
Yeah. Sorry, I was thinking more like important cleat fights like Firefighter and Freya and stuff. For Red actually pumps there.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, continue.
No, yeah. So I think viable is fine. I don't think that I could ever see them doing more than a geared fire mage.
Yeah.
So I think viable is fine. Okay, Elemental Shaman is a fun one. Have you played Elemental Shaman much?
Yeah. I was pumping on it this season.
It's not bad.
But yeah, it's people. I swear to God, this class is slept on. I swear to God that nobody has. I've seen like one or two that do really well, like when the season opens or when Tier 7 opens. But I swear this class is so not min maxed. Um, I swear that there's more to it than what people are doing right now.
I definitely think that Elemental could use a little more love in the community's eyes and in efforts for theory crafting out the best way to play the class, for sure. I'm with you. To me, Elemental has a day where it does fall off, where they are most certainly not invited to a raid, but that day is not today. Speaking of Phase 1 strictly, Ellie does very well. It just objectively does. And it's like this with every server I've played on. Elemental does really good in Nax. Always have. And I've always said that Elemental does well. People like to think that I shit on Elemental, but really, like, Elemental does great in Phase 1, and they did great in Phase 1 of TBC, too. I think that's just kind of how the class works. Like, they're just great early. They don't need a whole lot of gear, and they just don't gain a whole lot from having a lot of gear. To me, it's a competitive class. Where it ends up in competitive, I'm not 100% sure, but to me, they are comfortably competitive. What do you think?
Yeah, that's where I had them. Specifically, so the fight has to be a standstill fight. That is one of its weaknesses.
Sure.
A lot of its burst comes from the fire Ellie. So it's also a long cooldown. So obviously it's, unless you're waiting for every single cooldown, every single fight, it's not going to be the best for speed running. You would in a good group, you would definitely snapshot it at the beginning. So you would open with Flame Tongue just for your demonic pact. So that's kind of a wasted global at the beginning. Um, but yeah, it pumps. I still think that melee weaving as an Ellie, once you start hitting global cooldown cap with certain abilities, um, if you can rotate in a few staff bashes or a few melees where you've got, you already have flame tongue on your weapon. It's gonna do it's kind of like an enhanced shaman in that aspect. Weaving in a few melees, because when I watch TBC stuff, I watch the melee weaving hunters, and I'm like, man, that is so like it's an automated thing, and I'm thinking, like if you do like a 0.8 second lightning bolt, if you could get a fat melee in there every once in a while, on top of what it already does, it already does competitive damage when people aren't min maxing it like that. I mean, I swear this class is slept on. It does have mana issues, and it is very cooldown reliant on your fire Ellie to do really good single target. But people when it comes to shaman DPS, people were literally like, "I'm gonna bring one shaman. I'm not bringing an Ellie. Ellie is you can trash the Ellie," and I don't. I swear, people don't know what they're talking about.
I don't want to see an Ellie in my roster past tier 9. I think tier 9
Yeah,
is my cutoff. I think they're welcome anytime before that, for sure, though. And Ellie, like you say, definitely can melee weave. It's not quite complicated like a hunter would be, because a hunter has to move out again to be to get out of their dead zone. But if you have a standstill fight like Lotheb or Patchwork or even like phase 2 of KT or something, if you want to stand in one of the melee groups, you just have like your auto attack queued, and then you're
yeah.
just casting. It's like that the whole time. I've leveled Ellie before as well, and that's just literally how you play the class. You just have your auto attack queued, and you just keep casting, and before you know it, you're gonna have a melee hit every now and then.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a decent class. It really is it is that good. They are solid. Definitely slept on for sure. And it's strictly speaking in phase 1, they are solid, very competitive. I actually could even see us you and I like putting them above survival.
Yeah.
Um
I'd be down for that. Yeah.
yeah, okay, cool. Let's do that. Enhance. So you and I have actually played a lot of Enhance together, so I think we'll end up putting this in a pretty comfortable place. Predictively for Classic, this is going to be an interesting conversation because there's just a lot of unknowns with Classic right now. There's been so much stuff that's been going on with the beta that it's beta. Like, we don't know if it's going to stay or if it'll be fixed or it'll be changed. We genuinely do not know. So everything here is fully speculative. If we're talking about enhance overall, spell enhance or physical, enhance is still in my eyes a god tier class in phase 1. I would comfortably put enhance somewhere. Fuck, dude. I could even put them above unholy.
Really?
I could
Oh man.
even put
Okay.
them above unholy. And like legacy players supports this. Like enhance out DPS is unholy on every fight so often that um literally the top DPSers, like the top parsers for all boss kills, it's a couple warlocks and then it's enhance. Enhance is the one that is literally competing with the warlocks here. And now of course like that's like our spell hance that we know and love, which we might not have quite the access to come Wrath Classic, but even then, like my homie doll parts back in the day would absolutely destroy with physical enhance. It's still great. What do you think?
Yeah. There's just way too many unknowns. There's way too many unknowns. If we're talking about just private server scripts, then yeah. Enhance specifically spell enhance, because enhance melee enhance is slightly worse,
Right.
and I would probably put it in competitive. Um, but yeah, I mean it's god tier if you do that, but I don't know. Things are looking kind of grim when it comes to the way it's played right now compared to what they're talking about in the Shaman Discord. Um, Also, shout out to the Shaman Discord for being a pure hater of spell enhance. Uh, yeah,
It's like they don't want it to succeed.
yeah, I swear that any you type any kind of spell enhance, it's not a ban, but it's like okay, time to get your popcorn out.
Everywhere you look
Um,
to, everyone just comes
yeah,
into the Discord and they're like, "Hey, does anyone know anything about spell hands testing in beta?" It's like, dude, shut up.
yeah.
Um,
So I wouldn't put it god tier specifically because of that. And people are even talking about the weapon syncing stuff. Um, that would make it so that melee enhance it, and again, I don't play TVC, but the way that I understood weapon syncing is that it would make melee enhance a little better because you're using less flurry procs on your offhand or something like that. Basically, you would want to have two big weapons to maximize your flurry uptime.
right.
Um,
With physical enhance, you're way more likely to have weapons of the same speed, so your flurries are going at the same time. With spell hands, your main hand being so much faster than your offhand, it's gonna desync it
yeah,
constantly.
yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at. So if we end up getting that, and even today I was looking at in there, and they were talking about how, oh, they changed something on the beta. So it's too much of a question mark. I would put it competitive because I think even in even in bad, I would
Damn.
put it at the bottom of competitive because if we get bad,
What?
yeah, if we get bad scripts, I mean,
Oh
it's
my god. Yo, that's the
it's
biggest take I've ever heard.
it okay, maybe right next to Ellie. Maybe
Okay,
right next to Ellie. I'll do that.
let me just say, if we were in a vacuum talking about spell hands here, I would even be
Yeah.
I'd almost put it over Feral.
Yeah,
I'm
they're
so
good.
convinced that they're that good. Hell, I mean, I might even put them above assassination if we're literally talking about spell hands. But because we don't know what we're gonna have with um shaman with enhanced shaman right now. Fuck, dude. I wouldn't put him in.
What if
I'm s
what if we put him in question mark? I'm more comfortable with
no.
that. No?
No, I love enhance too much, and I know that even a base enhance at its core, like combat or physical enhance, will still absolutely pump. There are still VODs to this day of full physical enhance being literally #1 on DPS meters on algalon. I don't have anything from phase one, but on algalon, a full physical enhance. Like I've done ulduars with guys who are going full physical enhance. I know it can absolutely pump. It literally is competitive with a frost DK. Um, I I guess we could put it. I, I'm not putting it at the bottom of competitive. You're out of your goddamn mind if you're gonna catch me putting it at the bottom of competitive. I will fight you and die on that hill. Um, but I could put it at the top of competitive. I could meet you halfway there, or I could put it like ahead of Frost DK or just behind Frost DK. I'll let you decide.
Okay. We can do top of competitive. And
Okay.
again, this still it requires non-movement fights too. So now we're talking standstill fights. You know what I mean?
Sure, sure. Um, I
But
guess so.
I would say it's probably going to be better than Ellie. Probably. I still think it's going to be min max. I think Ellie's going to be min maxed. And I don't know. It's too much of an unknown for the weapon syncing stuff. I have no idea. Obviously, if we're talking pure private server stuff, it's god tier. But there's too many unknowns for me.
Yeah, there are a lot of unknowns, and you just kind of have to take this with a big grain of salt while watching this video. That you're gonna look at this, you're gonna skip to the end and see the screenshot, and like, oh my god, enhance! Like, look at where it ended up. But if you're paying attention, you know that enhance could end up in a lot of different places in this tier list when it comes down to it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm comfortable with that spot. And again, pure you have to stand still because dude, when even if you're in tier 7 BIS, you start adding movement into a fight, dude, it is awful to play enhance. And I'm sure that you can agree with me there.
It's pretty frustrating at times, but if you don't have Fire Ellie anyway, just refreshing Magma is not all that. It's not the end of the world.
I guess. I
It's
don't know.
not that
It's no
bad.
tilting.
Okay, Demonology. I think,
Warlock.
yeah, dude, this is all right. This is your alley, but let me start at least with Demo because I think, and I've been saying this for a long time, that Demo is a little bit slept on, especially in phase one. I think I used to say that Demo would probably outperform Affliction 9 times out of 10 in an unbuffed Naxxramas, but we know that we're getting somewhat of a buff in Naxxramas. So because of that, I know that Affliction comes up a little bit more. Um, Demo to me is it's god tier, and I have a hard time putting Demo anywhere else in a tier list than god tier, even through the entire expansion. I You're gonna have to help me out in terms of where you feel that fits in god tier. I'm hoping you still have it in god tier. I don't actually know for certain where you have it. If I had to pick, I'd put it behind. I'd probably put it behind both the DKs, maybe ahead of. Shit, it could go. It could go there. I could see Demo Lock there. They're just so damn good. What do you think? Help me out here.
Yeah, that's about where I have it. So again, I don't have Frost DK up there, but with Demo specifically on a 2 to 3 minute fight, it's like perfect because you're gonna open with Metaform, and then I mean you might get a second one. Like you might get a full duration of a second one, and it would be an execute.
Oh,
Yeah,
that'd be
like
so damn good.
and another thing that private server. So the thing about private servers is that your immolation aura, the thing that you use in meta, that continues after you leave meta form. So that's kind of helping it. You know, that's one thing that classic on the beta currently. When you leave demo form, you also lose immolation aura. So I could see that. But one thing about demo that's kind of people don't really talk about too much about it is their execute is substantially easier to activate than affliction. Affliction, and I'll talk more about affliction execute actually later. But just trust me when I say that demo execute is substantially easier to activate. And I mean, just think about your uptime with meta, your uptime with lust, your uptime with the execute. Your execute's going to be longer. And just how perfectly your cooldowns are going to align when you get that second demo form. And again, the other aspect to this is that this is pure damage demo, because I've been putting out a lot of support demo and simp demo. In that case, you wouldn't be anywhere near this. You'd have your pet AFK all the time.
Oh, come
yeah.
on. It would still be a
If your pet's AFK, no, if your pet's AFK, dude, you're
simp demo would probably end up here.
Maybe strong.
What?
I don't know, man. Your pet's AFK, dude. That's really bad.
It's not AFK.
It is for like half the time if you're doing like pure simp. Anyway, when it comes to demo though, you have such a long execute. You have your cooldowns lining up in the 2 or 3 minutes. I put it god tier, but I still think it's below feral and unholy in my list. Now that I think about it, it's probably below assassination rogue as well. So I'm comfortable with that spot.
Cool.
Yeah, that's how I think about it.
Yeah, I feel good about this spot too. Demo has phenomenal cooldowns, and it's a really, really good class in Wrath. And it does particularly well in phase 1, wouldn't you agree?
Yeah. Particularly well in phase 1.
More so than other phases for demo.
Does it scale better? Maybe. No, I don't think it's. I mean, by late ICC, you're only going to see a demo, like super late ICC, because people start hopping off of the affliction train.
Right.
I mean, it's super strong in TOC for sure. Is it in its best spot? I don't know. Yeah, I'm gonna put that. I don't know.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Let's talk about Destro, and let me start by saying, anyone who's coming from my community or anything that I may have said in the past about demo or Destro, I'm sorry, for Wrath, is you've probably seen me put it in not good. You've probably seen me put it in viable, or even you've maybe seen me put it in a question mark category. I need NLG's help here, because there's the Destro hybrid shit that I have not seen on any server at all except for Warmain. Dude, what's going on there? What's the deal? Is this going to be in Classic?
Oh man, so Destro, it's I have to put it in question mark, because we don't know. We still don't have good logs. We still don't know. It's good. It's just straight good on. So first, I'm going to talk about Destro. Destro is great for a fight like Malygos, where you're not going to have an execute phase on the boss. So when I say that, you kind of have to know how the fight works. But basically, you don't see a 35%. You don't see a 25%. Sometimes you see a 35% though for like 2 casts, but that's not enough for Demonology to beat out a Destro lock on, say, Malygos. The biggest question mark around Destro, and I swear I could talk for 10 days about how this works, but the biggest question mark on Destro is the conflag interaction with your immolate. The crit chance. So the way that conflag works, conflag is taking your immolate damage, and then it's hitting with an instant amount of damage, and then it's doing a little bit of a dot. Now, the complicated part of that is immolate specifically is going to snapshot your spell power. I know that is a new concept, but every dot in Wrath, whenever you cast it and you have that spell power before you casted it, it's going to keep that same amount of damage the entire duration. So the way that conflag is going to work is it's going to take that spell power that you could have potentially had on your immolate, and then is it doubling it? Is it like, let's say you get another spell power proc after once you're able to conflag, let's say you get a spell power proc, is it going to double up on spell power there? Is it doubling up on crit chance? Are you snapshotting the crit chance? The numbers that I have seen on private servers is very questionable to me. So immolate, conflag, all of these abilities, I'm watching, I read my talents, I look at my specific crit chance, even how it fluctuates throughout the fight. Regardless of what buffs I have, I'm sitting at like 28% crit chance. I know that there's the meta interaction, there's a bunch of different talents to give you crit. I don't understand how my conflags getting a consistent like 60 or 70% crit chance. I don't know if Classic's going to work that way. Nobody freaking knows.
Right.
I am very much in the camp that I have to put Destro, I have to put Hybrid in question mark because we don't know how Conflag is going to work. I can tell you if we get private server scripts, man, Hybrid and Destro are insane. Hybrid specifically is so freaking fun and it's so good and it has the execute that Destro is missing.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
If okay, in the worst scenario, would you say that Destro or Hybrid is like a strong? In the worst situation, it's probably strong, wouldn't you agree?
Again, man, like it's so crazy what the crit chance of conflag is. So do I put it above? The question is, do I put it above Ret? Do I put it above Blood DK?
I've seen pure
I don't.
Destro on previous servers do fine.
It looks good on the beta. I mean, and yeah, I've seen it. It does okay, but
Like,
nobody's close to the numbers that I'm doing on Warmane. Like, not to be arrogant or whatever, but
oh no, yeah,
like,
what you're doing on Warmane is absolutely insane. It's
um,
objectively insane. Like at its best. Okay, so what I'm trying to establish is like a floor for Destro and Destro Hybrid.
a
Like
floor.
a floor
Yeah,
could potentially be like a reliable strong, and at its absolute ceiling of
yeah,
potential here, we're talking like up here with Unholy, right?
yeah. I would have to put it. I'd have to put it. Yeah, probably strong is probably the floor, and then the top. I wouldn't put it god tier. I would put it.
Okay.
I'd put it top of competitive.
Okay.
And again, this is Destro and Hybrid. Hybrid does have a slight edge, and I have talked about this before. There's so much min maxing when it comes to Destro. It's snapshot again. Immolate snapshots your spell power. It's going to snapshot your crit, and it's going to. Who knows how the conflag is going to work? It would snapshot tricks. It would snapshot like the Thaddeus buff, any kind of damage modifiers. Um, yeah, it pumps, and hybrid has the execute, which is nuts. So yeah, I have to put it floor at strong because I have to say it's better than just about everything in viable, and then
Sure.
ceiling maybe at the very bottom of competitive. But again, you have Frost DK up there. I would still put it above Frost DK.
Sure. Sure.
So yeah,
I would feel like at its ceiling is above Frosty K for sure.
yeah,
Let's if you want, we can put it here at question mark because bro, you know people are gonna screenshot the end of this.
yeah.
I feel like we should put it maybe here, maybe even at the end of competitive, and just like
Okay,
wash our
yeah,
hands
we
with
can do
it and
that.
know that like the good listeners who've listened through the enhanced and listened through the Destro portions know that like this story is a long conversation with Destro.
Yeah, it's so there's so much to it. There's so much to it, man. But
Yeah.
anyway,
Okay, affliction. This is another one that you're gonna have to do a lot of lifting here, but affliction, people, I think, are so quick to say that a quick fight is not gonna be good for affliction, and I'm not gonna say that they're wrong, but I think that they're missing the fact that affliction is still doing really good damage throughout an entire fight, even before execute hits. That affliction, like to me, is just a consistent, like it's roguelike levels reliable for god tier damage. And I will always endorse a raid that is stacking affliction warlocks over any other class. I will always endorse someone to roll an affliction warlock alt. To me, affliction ends up, and I would put them somewhere around here, and God's here potentially because this is phase one only. I could see putting them here behind demonology if if the fight is really short, like 2 minutes or less. It's kind of varying where affliction could end up, but to me, like their spot is safely in God's here. What do you think?
Yeah, I actually agree. I ended up putting it in competitive, but I do agree it belongs in God tier. And it is fight dependent. If you're talking patchwork, patchwork has enough health to where you're gonna get a decent execute, but something like a Nubarak, you're just gonna suck compared to a lot of these classes. Um, and even like a 2.5 minute fight, I think a demonology warlock would beat you out.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I'm confident. I would say that's the floor is where you just put it. So right, kind of behind arcane, that's the floor, and then potentially depending on fight length, I would put it at number one. Obviously, it's number one on several different fights.
Yep.
But yeah, floor versus ceiling. Um,
I
and
agree. One
I have
100% about your floor and ceiling. Could we meet
yeah.
halfway with it and put it here?
Um, yeah, we can do that.
Okay.
I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Um, I do want to talk on the execute part of it though.
Okay.
So when it comes to affliction execute, it does have to be long enough. People keep saying, yeah, I understand that 25% is always going to be 25%, whether the boss's health is 50 million or it's 100 million or it's 5 million. But one part of the drain phase is getting, you have to kind of normalize so when it comes to your drain, you want haunt, you want 3 embrace, you want UA, you want your corruption. And at some point, you want your trinkets to proc in there as well. You want a PI in there as well. You want a tricks in there as well. The most amount of damage that you're going to get is when all that shit lines up. Is that going to happen every fight? No. On a fast fight, you might literally like in the time it takes you to put up haunt and UA, the boss might have gone from 25 to 21% or something like that. You know what I mean? Like you just lost 20% of your execute just because you're putting up stuff that needs to be up.
Right.
Specifically haunt and the 3 embrace is 38% of your drained soul damage. Um, so yes, in specific scenarios, let's say the stars align and you get your 2 trinket procs, you get the PI, you get the tricks, and then you already had haunt and you had your snapshot earlier maybe like cuz ideally you want to snapshot the tricks at 35%. Um yeah, you could have an insane pull on one boss or so, but I think that having a longer drain phase, a longer 25 to 0 time allows your drain phase to normalize and for your drain phase to potentially to go from potential trinket procs, potential tricks in the drain phase, it moves from that to it's absolute. It's going to happen. You're going to get the trinket if the fight is long enough. So yes, I understand 25% is 25% no matter what, but there's more to it, especially with affliction. And I'm kind of tired of reading that. I'm tired of reading that. Oh, you're an idiot. You don't know how math works. I know how math works. I know how math works.
Yeah, I'm definitely seeing both sides to that constant argument all the time, and it's never ending because
Yeah.
affliction is such a meta spec. People will never stop talking about it, and it's people are just so quick to assume that affliction is dead on arrival with a unbuffed Nax, which I know we're not getting, but
Yeah.
um, that is just so wrong. Um, there's so much more to that conversation than just a fight length. Um, yeah, I really don't have much more to add to what you just said. I think you nailed it, bro.
Yeah. It's a hard class. I understand. Like people people just it might be an ego thing, but maybe they just haven't played it enough. Maybe they I don't know, haven't been through the trenches of doing shit DPS, and then like, man, how do I not suck, dude? How do I not suck?
It's
um, but yeah, that's my opinion on it.
it's up there for sure. I mean, I always tell people the top 3 hardest DPSs to play in Wrath are Feral, Affliction, and Enhance. And it's by
Yep.
far those 3 are always the hardest.
Yep.
Okay. We should finish this. We have one more class to go. Shadow Priest. Let's try to finish strong, wink wink. I was thinking I would put Shadow Priest for me at the top of strong.
Oh,
But it kind of just depends. Dude, I've seen Shadow Priest do really good damage, and I've seen Shadow Priest do horrible damage. It really either depends on the player or it depends on the server that I'm on. But I have seen so many varying levels of Shadow Priest performance, especially even like specifically in Nax, that I am kind of torn on where Shadow is going to end up here in Classic. I think it's safe to say that they're really competitive, like neck and neck with a Boomy and for single target, but I don't know if they would ever be worse than a Ret. I don't think they would ever be better than a Survival Hunter. So to me, it ends up somewhere around that ballpark. How do you feel?
yeah. That's where I put it too. So specifically on the server thing, yeah, I agree. Every single server I've seen Shadow Priest do insane. The thing about it is that you can snapshot with your Shadow Word Pain. It's worse than an affliction lock, but you know it could be a thing. I've also seen, I don't know if you know Clicks, but
Yeah.
I've also yeah. So I've seen him. He does weird stuff where he's like weapon swapping for haste, specifically for his vampiric touch. I think it could be min max a little bit. The core part of whether or not Shadow Priest is going to be good though is Shadow Fiend. I've seen that thing do insane openers, insane damage on openers. Where I'm just like, holy shit! I didn't know Shadow Priest had burst. um,
Interesting.
yeah. Um, like I'm talking like it keeps up with like a ton of those other classes in competitive in God tier. So that's where I fall on it. I don't think it'll be God tier. I really don't. I don't think it competes with. Maybe it could be some. I would say definitely the floor is strong, and then the ceiling is competitive. That's where I'm gonna put it. And I had it in the exact same spot, but I actually had it right behind a Boomy.
Okay, yeah. I mean, if you had it behind a Boomy, I'm perfectly fine putting it behind
Yeah.
Boomy as well. To me, their floor is above a Ret Paladin, which could be like at the end of strong or at the top of viable. Just feels like the wrong word for shadow. It just isn't. It's better than viable. And I think yeah, their ceiling is probably here, right behind survival, more than like a potential like weird thing with Destro. I don't know, but not ahead of an Ellie, not ahead of a combat. I feel Shadow is perfectly good right here with what we know now.
Yeah. Cool with all this? You cool with what we have currently?
Dude, I feel great about it. Thanks so much for, jumping in the call. We spent the last hour and 23 minutes going over all these classes for phase 1 classic. I feel really, really good about it. I think we are probably going to get this time stamped and screenshotted a million times, and all of the warriors are going to absolutely riot when they see what we've
Yeah.
done.
I hope so, man. I hope I'm freaking wrong. I hope that Warrior somehow pumps. I hope that it is meta where the combat rogue comes in and exposes for your warrior. That would be sick, but I don't see it happening.
Okay, like warrior at best is gonna do like this.
Stop. It's not though. You think
Like
it beats no, no, it's not.
it's
There's no way.
I'm talking like in the most absurdly favorable heroic strike Q, random bullshit, whatever that
Okay.
classic is gonna throw at us. Okay, maybe. Maybe it does top 10 DPS for once in its life in Wrath. In phase 1. Warrior will have its time, guys. Everyone relax. It will. Okay, that we've spent so much time here. NLG, thanks so much for being here. If you guys want to check out NLG, I'm gonna leave all of his info in the description of this video. You can find him streaming. Do you stream on Twitch?
I'm trying to avoid that ban hammer for right now.
Oh, I feel you. I feel you. Okay. Well, I'll link your YouTube below. And dude, we got to do this more often. I love this.
Yeah, we picked a good top. This is a good topic. That's really it. I could talk, like I said, I could talk for days on this shit.
Same. We might have to find new ways to do these tier lists because they're really, really fun. They're fun for us to do, and I know that they're fun for the viewers and the listeners. So thanks so much, everyone, for listening. Feel free to, debate us in the comments below. If you disagree with anything, please feel free to nicely tell us that we're idiots. And just like the video and subscribe to my channel and to NLG's. Love you guys so much, and we are out of here.